All right. Can you hear me? Can you drop into the chat if you can hear my microphone? I think it might not have been coming through earlier. Give me a thumbs up or a yes, something to let me know that you can hear me. My first time trying to do a live. Okay, so what did Codex tell me it built here? Manual cuts, pause on the last frame. Manual cuts appear. Okay, so it's telling me it made something where I have to pause on the last frame. Is the environment that they work. Mark cut out. Add cut in. Okay, so supposedly it made me a manual cut. But I don't see on the interface where I see it. Strange. Okay, let's go back here. I see the mark cut out control, but I don't like having to drag the timeline around to find the in and out spot. I would like to be able to just type in a time in addition to dragging the control around. And then I also want to see the new cut that was created rendered on our timeline where all of our transcript cuts are at, so I can really see where it added. It's just hard to visualize where it's at right now. And we are going to keep that going. Drop a thumbs up if you can actually hear me. I don't really know if this is sending sound through or not. It says I've got a viewer. I don't have any chat messages. Thumbs up, a smiley, okay, middle finger, I don't care. Just something to let me know that the sound is coming through. So I'm using 5.6. I'm using the Sol Medium. Medium tends to work pretty well for most instances. Right now it's authorizing the change, describing what it's going to do. Let's go back to our interface so we can see. So we still have the bump controls that allow me to move things back and forth by frame. But what I don't like is that I added this manual cut, but I don't see it here anywhere on the timeline. So I just don't really know how to find it, explaining, edit it, or your day to learn with me. So yeah, I just don't really know how to work with it. That's all right. I trust Sol. It will figure it out. let's see where Soul's at with this. Still working. Okay, so while it's cooking, I am going to go ahead and respond to some messages on YouTube. Okay. I'll get some grok going here too. Like to work in two programs. So grok build was just made open source. Was that yesterday that they announced that? Yeah, yesterday, July 15th. So they made grok build open source, which is pretty cool. Open sourcing grok build, nice, sweet. So you can hear me. I've been wondering if you guys could hear me because I didn't know if the audio was working or not. This is the first time I've tried doing live streaming, so apologies if I suck. Got to start somewhere. So yeah, so I actually separately had been working on trying to make a Claude Code version of grok build, something that's more of like a desktop application. I've got some really cool features built into it, but that was me just kind of hacking around before. So now that grok build is open source, I'm gonna have it just kind of look into the repo and see if I can combine those two projects. So I've asked it to just go through and look um, look at that. So so I said we've been working on grok command here. I'm trying to figure out how I can leverage the open source grok build to make grok command even better. So while that cooks, let's go back over here to ChatGPT Soul, where I'm working on my video editor, and it's saying that it gave me better in and out controls because I couldn't really see them before. I'm trying to add the ability to do manual cuts. I've got this dialed in to where I'm almost not having to touch CapCut, but I'm still having to take the final output into CapCut just to do some small manual cuts where like words weren't, perfectly cut, or there was like a slight, like a slight pause that didn't get kicked up, whatever. Loud and clear, video looks good, touch small. Then again, I'm old. Bro, I'm old too, man. That's why I prefer for it to be small, man. You don't want to see me. Hey, Moral, what's going on, man? Haven't seen you in a while. We didn't see you on the Friday Night Vibes. I was wondering where you went. Welcome back. Good to see you on the channel again. Yeah, we had a fun Friday Night Vibes last week. It was my first international show. I had somebody join us from Vietnam, which was super cool. I feel like I'm just becoming a celebrity. Actually had international audience, which is it's kind of wild. All right, so this is the preview. Okay, cool. So this is the manual cut that we added. Okay, so that is cool. I can see that now. But right away I can see a problem, which is that these selectors kind of overlap, so it's hard to work with them. So let's deal with that situation. We're going to do exactly how they do it in CapCut. I see the selector for the manual cut on the timeline now. That looks great. One thing I can see is that it's hard to pick them. So I want to use the same kind of controls that CapCut has, where I can hold down control and use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out of the timeline to kind of extend it to frame by frame. Let me know if that actually makes sense. And let's go ahead and try to implement that so that I can zoom in and out on the timeline. It's fine if part of the timeline ends up extending past the right edge of the screen, and then we have to have some kind of horizontal slider to move back and forth. That's exactly how CapCut does it. But I just want to really be able to fine tune this manual editing. So that is voice prompting. I don't typically voice prompt when I'm working by myself. I like to type. Um, because I just like my commands to be really focused. I think that giving very focused, very well thought out instructions to the model allows you to get, much better thought out output back. However, I know now that I'm doing live stream and it's probably kind of boring to you guys if I sit here and type. So I thought I would try to make it more interesting by doing voice captions. I don't normally do that when I'm working. I know that theoretically you can talk faster than you can type, but for me, just the way my brain works, I'm able to organize my thoughts a lot better when I use written communication because it also gives me the ability to like cut and paste, move words around, and just like really dial it into like this is the message I want to deliver. And I can't do that when I'm just talking. It just a lot of times it comes out like Kamala Harris word salad, hard to understand nonsense. So we do our best. All right, well, that's cooking. Let's go back and see what Grok has done here. All right, I have to read a little bit. Okay. It's a strong fit. Grok Command's already designed as a desktop UX layer, not a second harness. My design document locks this. Don't vendor the whole engine inventory. Yeah, coding. I'm not really sure how exciting it is to watch because it's a lot of reading. And you guys are sitting here bored while I'm reading. Adam says, I don't use voice either, but I was thinking if I did set up, I would make it push to talk that way. I can just ramble without interrupting. I mean, I think it is kind of, if you use it more, it probably is a good way to train you to be more concise. Like I used to be president of the Toastmasters chapter at BlackRock, and that was one of the cool things was the table topics where you would just get a random topic and then you had to talk about it off the cuff of your head for 2 minutes and sound good, which is a skill that you really kind of need to have in corporate America. But that table topics was always uh, it's just good training to be able to talk off the top of your head when you didn't know what the hell you're talking about and still sound good. Some people are good at that. They end up being politicians. I'm not very good at it. But I think that anything in life is something that you can just get better, over time, a little bit better every day. And then eventually you become at least competent, if not, hopefully an expert. Yeah, morals into typing too. I imagine there's probably some kind of behavioral thing in terms of like what your style of communication is better. I'm sure that there are people that are much better at just talking verbally and that are like really bad at doing typing communication. And there's probably people that can like write with a pen but can't type and vice versa. I think everyone ends up with something that works well for them. All right, let's get back to Grok here. Enough of my nonsense. It's going over the top of my head. Open source improves the engine contract. And suggested next step, clone the OSS tree, run a focused pass, get a gap list, a PR backlog, and an audit. Yeah, I think that sounds good. Let's do that, bro. All right, so I said, let's do that, bro. I like to call my models bro. I just feel like getting a little bit of intimacy with each other. We work together better. And then I said, I'm excited to see where we can take this. Again, it's weird to anthropomorphize these things, but I have noticed that they do pick up on your tone and the emotion in the way you talk. So trying to establish like a collaborative relationship, I think works. And then also it allows them to just better pick up when you're getting frustrated on things. Does Grok build and Codex use your token budget from monthly like Claude Code, or does it just yeah? So Grok build right now. So I got my subscription via X. So up until like a week ago, you could buy it through Grok, but then you didn't get access to Twitter. But then if you bought it through X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, you got Grok build for free with your Twitter subscription. But then you also got a blue check mark on Twitter. So I bought it through that. I got a 40% off deal. So it was $237 for a full year. And I had a Grok subscription last year in 2025. I had a subscription to all four because I would just run all the things that I was doing through all of them and just testing. And then I shut it down a couple months ago because I wanted to sign up for Twitter because I just want to use it as a platform to try to distribute content. And so I finally did that. And that's where you started seeing me start making Grok build content. It's pretty good. It's super fast. And then, yeah, ChatGPT Codex is pretty much the same from a monthly subscription perspective as Claude Code is, but it's massively cheaper. Like it's almost impossible to get anything done on Claude Code without having at least $100 a month subscription. And I have been using ChatGPT non-stop for the last 18 months with a $20 a month subscription. And up until the last 3 weeks, very, very, very rarely would I want to run into usage issues. Something happened in the last 3 weeks where I'm just blowing through tokens like crazy, and I had to upgrade. But yeah, before it would just go crazy. So Grok has done a bunch of shit in like 2 minutes. This is one of the things that you guys will see when you use both of these tools. Grok is insanely fast, whereas ChatGPT, you just spend a lot of time waiting on it. Whatever. All right, so let's see what it did here. So it's done a bunch of changes. Right in the audit. Audit's done. Here's the exciting part and the honest part. Grok commands architecture is already the right one. Let's go. I'm already a step ahead. I'm ahead on layering. Open source doesn't force a rewrite. It hands me a contract library. That's what I was hoping for. Turn stuff. Okay, so there's some small changes with some of the contract handoffs. No big deal. Wave one. So this is the funniest part of Grok if you guys start using Grok. So it's estimated this wave one in days and wave B in week, and polish next. And I think we'll probably get them all done in about 20 minutes. Yeah. go ahead and implement wave A. So that'll be done pretty quick. Let's go back over here to Codex. All right, so it's saying it got the, oh, there we go. That's exactly what I wanted. I can zoom in, zoom out. That literally is perfect. All right, that is solid. All right, cool. What else did it do here? Timeline expands, added zoom, reset, plus controls. So this one we can
difference is the environment that they were problem handled in both work and Codex. By the end, you
okay. Yeah, one of the things I've been struggling with is figuring out how to visualize this. I don't really like the cutting process in CapCut. You just have to drag this line around. So, how could I do this? Trying to decide what I want here. Let's see what's chat saying. I'm trying to figure out, do I buy Google AI or Google Dev subscriptions? That's a really good question. So I get my Google, so I have a separate Gemini subscription at $20 a month, and I can bang on that all day. I also have via my vibecodeguild.com domain that's purchased through Google Workspace. So that gives me access to Notebook LM. And then I know I get a certain amount of Gemini usage, but I think that it's stripped down. I also have access to the Google Workspace Studio, which is a super cool product that no one's really talking about. At some point, I'll start making some content on it. It replaces a lot of the CRM softwares that people are paying for. But yeah, it's cool. Do I keep a master dev doc and task list and allow all agents? So I tend to create a plan, and then I ask it to update the plan as it goes. Some of them are better than others. ChatGPT, in my experience, won't actually go update the plan unless you tell it to do it. And that's where you'll get it just kind of drifting off course. Grok seems to be really good with the plan document, and it seems to be the most like, let's make a plan and a contract first and then work towards that, which makes sense. I would, with the stuff that Elon's companies are dealing with rocket science and things like that, you really can't have drift, right? Like you can't have a multi-million-dollar rocket blow up because somebody just decided to do something different. So this is all speculation, but I think based on what they're building it for and what they're using it for internally, I would expect it to be the one that has the least drift, just because you can't really have drift when you're building rockets. OpenAI just kind of goes wherever it goes. Claude is somewhere in the middle, in my experience. And then Gemini, honestly, I just haven't worked with Gemini a ton in the last 2 or 3 months, other than I use it here and there for image generation and generating ideas and stuff. But we'll say. What's up, Larry? Larry's saying hi. Larry's an audio engineer, dude. I want to learn more about that. I've always wanted to learn more about making music. I love music. I listen to music constantly. That's what these are. These are two big giant speakers that I usually play while I'm working. But I think it'll get me in trouble if I play music. I'll get like copyright strikes or something like that. So you guys just have to deal with my stupid voice. Yeah, OpenAI's main goal is definitely not accuracy. It's got better, but you just have to, man, you really have to manage it. What it does is, so you'll ask one question, and this goes all the way back to 2025 when we were just doing a chat. So you ask one question, and what it does is it comes back essentially with like 4 different answers, right? And so then you're like, okay, well, this answer 2, let's drill into that. And then now you get 4 more answers, right? And so it just spider webs, and eventually by like 4 or 5 turns, you are 50 steps away from where you started. And so you really got to go, dial back to your original question. And there's just a lot of like managing up and down that chain that takes a lot of mental capacity, like you, it's better, but you still can't just like turn it loose and let it go. All right, let's get back to work here. So thank you for saying you love this project. I love this project too, man. This has been a massive step up in my ability to create YouTube videos. If you go look at that one, God, what was it? Back in January or February when I got pissed off about the Seahawks playing the Super Bowl in our stadium and tried to make my own version of Excel with Gemini, and go back and look at the quality there versus the quality of what I just dropped today. And, we're definitely getting a lot better every day. Still got a long ways to go, but we are getting better. Okay, so I want like a line here that I can drag back and forth in preview. I think I'm gonna have to have that. Okay, let's go. Grok is Jesus Christ. This is Grok, bro. Any of you guys that want to know about Grok, this is Grok. So it comes back with its estimate. We'll scroll all the way up here. This is one of the reasons I don't like the terminals. I just don't like the scrolling part. And then I can't really figure out where I'm supposed to go because you can't, like, I don't know. I just don't like the terminal. I think it's dumb. All right, page up, 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 up. God, look at all this code that it made in 3 minutes. That is insane, you guys. That's absolutely insane. Yeah, all the way back here. So yeah, it said wave A was going to take days, and yeah, it took 3.2 minutes. So there you go. Wave A is done. All right, well, all right. Let's go. Let's go ahead and do wave B, bro. All right, let's let that cook. What's your guess? Over or under 10 minutes to do that one? What do you think? It said weeks. So do you think it'll take over or under minutes? All right, let's go back to Codex here. I'm going to do a voice on this one. That looks really good. Nice job on that one. I want some kind of line that I drag around, kind of like the headline that you have inside CapCut. I think that will make it easier for me to mark the spots where I want to start the cuts. I'm still trying to figure out the right way that I want to do this. So don't lock us in too much in the design, but let's start off first with just having a line that I can drag along the timeline and play the preview from that point. We got 5 people in here, dude. I'm like famous, bro. That's like a whole hand. It's amazing. All right, what we got in the chat? Gemini for bid picture and gathering data. Yeah, Gemini is really good with research. Supposedly there's a new Gemini model coming out tomorrow, and supposedly it has a 2 million token context window, which would absolutely blow away anything else on the market. So it's interesting. I really do think that in the end it'll be Google, SpaceX, maybe Facebook, although they seem to be doing poorly. But if you just think about the inputs into this, the biggest one is data, and all of us have spent the last, was it 2002? So 24 years, like purposefully giving all of our data to Google. If you built a website, you built a blog, you built anything, you put a specific robots.txt in the hopes that Google would consume all of the data to send you traffic. So they have all of the data. They already have a massive advantage over anyone else that's trying to find the data. So right away, their models should have a massive advantage just in the amount of data going in. And then when you think about the resource perspective, those guys generate so much cash. Like they generate in a quarter what OpenAI is having to go beg, the Saudis to give them. Like all the cash that OpenAI and Anthropic are spending is ultimately just kind of a rounding error for Google. So when it comes down to a resource deployment battle, it's really going to be hard to beat them, dude. And they've also done a really good job of acquiring companies and putting people into earn-out contracts where they essentially have, most of the brain talent in Silicon Valley. So I think it's going to be very hard to compete with them over the long term. I think that they're just kind of playing possum right now, letting these guys, sprint, and then they're going to come in like the tortoise and just blow everybody away. That's my prediction for tomorrow. All right, so ChatGPT is still working. Let's see what Grok's got done. Oh, it is still working.
Did anybody put an over or under on the 10 minutes? Dude, I got 7 people in here watching. Let's go. I'm like famous. Hey, make sure you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel. I try to put out good videos. This is my first time doing a live stream vibe coding. Took Grok session. I used to tune a CV stack. How to do a postmortem report and give a new session file. But yeah, when TP8 is in the data centers, man, that's something that I don't think most people really understand. It's really interesting versus NVIDIA too, because I think that there's this perception. There certainly is this perception on Wall Street right now that NVIDIA is like untouchable. And I think in the short term that that's true, but we're playing a game in the long term. And remember, the NVIDIA chips are essentially graphics chips that were repurposed for AI just because that was, the fastest calculations. And the real solution is to do exactly what you start to see some of these companies do, which is like, well, let's make chips that are specifically optimized for AI. And yeah, I think that there'll become a point, in the next couple of years where NVIDIA no longer has that moat, and it's not that hard, it's not that hard to believe. Like if you would have told somebody in 2022 that Intel was going to be irrelevant, they would have smacked you in the face, right? Like you had to have your Pentium, but like no one gives a shit about Intel anymore. And Grok. Yeah, so over or under 10 minutes. Yeah, 3 minutes and 46 seconds for Grok. Freaking Grok, dude. That's the hard part. Like, it's hard to vibe code live with Grok because it's just so damn fast. It's hard to keep any kind of thread going here. It shipped a bunch of stuff. Whatever. Let's keep going. Let's just keep going, and then we'll test. I think you guys are going to like this Grok command harness that I've been building. It's got some really cool capabilities that really even Claude Code and ChatGPT don't have to really make vibe coding better. All right, so Sol has implemented our dragger. Let's see. Oh, there it is. All right, so we'll scroll in. Boom, 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 boom. And okay. Oh, it is working. Let's go. That's cool. Okay. Cool. Okay, so one of the things that I don't like about editing in CapCut, and this might just be that I don't know how to use the tool wrong, so I can't really say that the tool sucks. But all I've really figured out is that I drag a line somewhere. Is the environment that the difference performs activity.
And
is
what
the
I've been trying to do
environment
with
that they
these
were
controls
problem
is make something where I can just drag it to the approximate place.
is the environment that they were
bump it back and forth
handled
with the frames. So right away, I don't like how when I drop it, it starts playing. So let's work on that. But basically what I want to do is have the ability to put a cut slice here, a cut slice here, and then just play the portion that goes from here right to here, like over and over in a loop, so that I can just really dial in the exact part that I'm cutting out and then clip it. I've already got that with the transcript editor, but these are, again, these are kind of the manual cuts that I got to add, and I just want a better interface. So let's do this. Let's chat. The playhead seems to work. Nice job on that. I don't like that when I let go, it automatically starts playing the video. My goal is to be able to drag it to a spot and then click cut out, and then drag it to another spot, click cut in, and then basically be able to render the preview of that
what it would look like with that section cut out, and then be able to grab the out and in and use our fine tuning controls to nudge the frames forward and backwards until we get something that just looks perfect. Yeah, see you guys, I suck at the voice prompting. What's going on in the chat? All right, still, yeah. Yeah, the Amazon one's interesting, man, because they should be crushing it too, because they've got the data centers, you know, the chips, but I just don't think that Jeff Bezos is a good engineer. I think that Jeff Bezos is just kind of like a. When you hear the people rail about the billionaires, um, I think that Jeff Bezos is the personification of what people kind of assume that is. Just a very selfish person that has made his wealth by treating his workers poorly, not by creating good stuff. And just not really a good person. So that's why you see them. They're, you know, he's in the space race with Elon, but he's nowhere close, right? Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what their deal is. Toenail said, I came across, I love the name Toenail. Came across one of your videos 2 days about vibe coding. Already built my first app that works flawlessly for our fleet management. Let's go, dude. That's awesome. Um, Jump into the school community and tell me more about that. So we have the Friday night vibes tomorrow night, and then I'm trying to get some more, you know, live sessions on the calendar for people to do show and tell and just show what each other's working on. And yeah, definitely would love to hear what you've done. All right, Soul is done. Let's see what I'm sure Grok is done. It's been more than 2 minutes. Oh, it's actually still working. Let's go. Grok's hard, dude. Grok's kind of like it's hard to keep Grok working. Grok just wants to finish his job so quick and then go drink coffee or something, which, you know, it's good. I drink coffee, I get it. Maybe he's taking cigarette breaks, I don't know. Releasing leaves the preview boundary buttons are set in, set out. Apply changes and refresh panel. All right, let's keyboard enter and space can start playback. All right, let's try this. Go ahead and refresh. This part I still haven't dialed in. So basically it's taking all of these edits that I've done in the transcript. So my first pass is to go through the transcript, and then I've got these controls where I can just slightly nudge things over frame by frame and get that dialed in. And then there's a couple more features that you guys haven't seen because I've been working on this and I just haven't released another video on it yet. But then we get to this preview panel that allows me to see the entire video with all of the proposed cuts and just watch through the whole thing and see if there's anything else that I've got to dial in before I lock in my final export. So that's what we're working on now. But I think that it's keeping a lot of that in the browser, like in memory. And so when I reload, it's redoing a lot of work. So that's something that I'm going to have to work on. I'm going to have to, whenever it does this, I'm going to have to make it make a local copy or some kind of thing to make this more efficient because it's not good. Yeah, congrats, Tonel, to the addiction. Yeah, it really is addictive, man. Once you start using these tools and all the things you can build, it for me, it definitely is an obsession, man. Can build anything if you're willing to grind. That is absolutely true. Speak to the goal versus trying to describe what I think I want. That's true. That's what the video I dropped this morning was talking about. How you've got to change your mind frame from focusing on lining out the specific activities of like build this, build this, build this, and just talk about what the outcome is that you want and trust the models to actually get there. And that's a relatively new way of thinking. You couldn't really do that before. All right, let's try this tool. So we go here and we set out. Okay, cool. Go here. All right, so I should have some kind of marker there. want to see a marker there. Yeah, because see, I can't even see. That's a problem. I can drag the in before the out, but whatever. So set the in. We add a
Threatened
manual
to
cut.
fire
Okay,
it.
so that's been
Promise
cut.
you'd give it a tip. Sacrifice a chicken under a full moon and spin 3 times in a circle. People kept making these.
And it just starts playing it. I don't see how to
Threatened to fire it. Promise you'd give it a tip. Sacrifice a chicken under a full moon and spin 3 times in a circle. People kept making these prompts longer because the model could only respond to what we typed. It would give us an answer.
Okay, so you guys enjoying watching me type here? All right, when I click set out, we should show some kind of marker on the timeline, and the same thing for set in. I also see a potential bug where I might be able to set in before set out, which would not be good. And then I want to dial in the preview of that change better, preview of that manual cut better. So this is why I like to type, because it just allows me to like organize my thoughts and give good information into the model. I think we could reuse our 2-second, 4-second, 6-second controls from our main transcript editor to play a preview of what this new manual cut would look like. So let's do that. Let's go over here. Grok, I'm sure it's done. I mean, it took 5 minutes on that one. So, you know, in Grok time, that's like a year. It looks like it's added search, whole bunch of stuff. Very cool. And then let's go ahead and do Wave D. Yeah. Let's do Wave D. Toenail, I'm a fan of you too, man. I appreciate you being here. Nothing I do matters unless there's people actually watching. I'm basically just a tree falling alone in the woods if there's no one there to hear me. We all know that means it didn't happen. Join the community. Awesome. Yeah, so we'll get this Wave D done, and then I'm going to fire up this Grok Command Center and show it to you guys. No one has seen it before. So you guys are getting a live preview of a new tool. Hopefully you guys don't steal my tool. Although I will end up publishing it and making it open source, as I like to do with all of my tools, because I believe in sharing the wealth. Especially now, there's absolutely no point in building software and keeping it private, because like literally whatever you build, I can copy in under 10 minutes with Grok. So, but maybe the engineers at X will see what I've built, and maybe they'll hire me to be a product manager and build this into a real tool for them. It's pretty cool. It's there's some really cool features. All right, Sol is still working. Well, shoot, both my guys are working here. Do I need to fire up Claude too and just get them all going? Claude's in the doghouse, dude. I'm like really annoyed at them right now. This whole we're gonna give Fable and we're taking Fable away, and then supposedly Opus 5 is gonna come out, and that's gonna be their big redemption, but it's less than Fable. So like, why the hell do I need to pay for something that's not as good as ChatGPT? It's stupid. And yeah, I'm just so tired of them. I am on X. Yeah. My handle, I think, is @VibeCodeGuild. It is, yeah, there you go. At Vibe Code Guild on the Twitter. On the Twitter. I am just raging, dude. I've got 235 followers, just massive, massive presence on Twitter. Yeah, I haven't really ever done public social media. I've potentially, like, I specifically tried to stay private for most of my life. But now that I want to kind of build a community and stuff, I'm having to learn how to do self promotion and learn how to have a following. So we'll get there. If you guys know any tricks, definitely let me know. I think the main thing for me is just trying to be authentic and give actual useful information to people. Can't hear me. Wait, is the audio bad? Are you guys not able to hear me, or is it just his car's too loud? Can you guys still hear me? I know you guys can hear me. Is the audio good, or is it shit? I got my good microphone on. Hopefully it doesn't sound bad. My handle is at Vibe Code Guild. And so if you go to the YouTube video for today, I actually put the Twitter handle in there too as well. Yeah, so just yesterday they made Grok Build open source. It wasn't before, but as of yesterday, it is open source. Can you run it with other models? I'm sure that you probably could. I haven't tried it, but I'm sure that you could. Oh, it's your stereo. You need to get an amp. I mean, honestly, dude, Grok Build is cheap enough that you should just get a subscription to it and just try it. So Grok Build right now is basically at the tests, and in my using it for the last week, it's as good as Opus 4.8, and it is way faster. Like I can't even understand how quickly it does the stuff that it does. So it's worth having, even if you use I think one of the best, cheapest workflows you could have right now would be to get the cheapest Claude subscription and just use it or ChatGPT, Sol, use it for making your project plan documents and then pop those into the folder and let Grok do the build. If you want to cheap out, that's definitely the way to go. Audio fine, but it's a little low. Okay. All right, let's try it. I do. What about now? Does that sound better? Is that louder? See, I got this new fancy microphone during Prime days, and it has two knobs on here that I haven't really changed. I think one of them is a headphone. I think one of them is the microphone. So let me turn that up louder. That's all the way. That's probably too much. It's probably getting distorted. Does that sound better? Okay, and obviously 3 minutes later, Grok is done with phase D. So the months and months of work that it predicted, it got done in under 20 minutes total. That's amazing, Grok. Sounds better. Sweet. Audio's low. Yeah, the Elon playback, but from playback is loud. Speaking is fine, but from playback, I don't understand what that means. Moral, you gotta help me out there. I'm not an audio engineer. I need help. It's louder, but still hard to hear in your car. All right. It is louder though. Okay. Well, we'll figure it out. Yeah, I mean the Elon thing is it's fascinating. I was a hater of Elon for a really long time. Because just he was always just making bullshit statements with Tesla, and then the thing that really got me was when he did that. We're taking out Tesla at whatever price, funding secured. Which, again, my background is in finance. Like I have all the securities license, Series 7, Series 6, all of that shit. And so to me, that was just like stock price manipulation. So it was really hard for me to get past all of that shenanigans that he was doing. And I remember literally standing there at a dad's event, in Silicon Valley. My kids were at the schools with those kind of people, and talking to somebody who was one of Elon's attorneys and just saying, dude, he's a huckster. This guy's a scammer. And then the guy was explaining to me, no, Elon's actually trying to get to Mars. And this was back in like 2019. And I was like, no, I don't think he's trying to get to Mars. I think he's just trying to scam her. And so we had an ongoing argument with that. And then, when he bought Twitter, that was when I really did become a fan of him, because I think that was, history will prove that was one of the single most important events to save our country, to give us our right to free speech back. And anyone that has a problem with that is an idiot. Americans should be able to say whatever we want. It's the one thing that we have got right, is that we can say whatever stupid stuff that we want. Don't have to agree with it. You don't have to like it. But all of you should be able to say whatever you want. Left, right, center, I don't care. You got to be able to say what you want. It is immutable, inalienable, and Elon gave us that back. All right, so let's start up Grok Command Center. I will get off of my soapbox here. Damn, my viewers just dropped out. Everybody ran out of the room. Everybody's scared of free speech. No, who gives a shit? If you don't like free speech, you are not my audience. I do. I honestly think that he's trying to make humanity better. He could easily be, hanging out on a yacht like Jeff Bezos, but the guy just works. The thing that's really crazy for me is how he's able to context switch. Like, because he's doing a lot of insanely complicated things. So for him to, like, at one moment be working on rockets, and then I'm going to context switch over here to self-driving cars, and then I'm going to context switch over to robots, and then I'm gonna, like, that for me, it's insane. Like, uh that's the part that I really don't understand. I don't understand how he's able to do that, because any one of those projects is a ton of information to keep in your head, and for him to simultaneously be managing all of those swim lanes, it, it's insane, man. But it's above a CEO mindset, because he's not just. I've met a lot of CEOs. Like, I got to meet Jeff Immelt when I was 26 years old and sit and interview him. Like, I've met a lot of these CEOs in my you know as a sell side equity analyst. I met a lot of them. But he's different, because a lot of the sales guys are just like visionaries that are really good at talking. They're, in a lot of ways, they're just politicians that went to business school and got an MBA. But he's different, man, because when you hear him interview, he understands the science of all these things. Um, it's just it's just a staggering amount of knowledge for somebody to keep in their brain. All right, so this is Grok Command. This is what I built. I've been trying to build something that would be more of like kind of like a Claude Code or a ChatGPT Codex to be able to manage Grok, because I just don't really like using the stupid terminal. So the first thing you get here is you can see all of the different projects that you've worked on. So I'll open up this one where I put Learn Coursera. I was trying to use the Coursera skill to just see what it could do. And so it will bring up any agents that I've got going on in it. Let's go back to this one. So Grok Command right here. So I can see the agents that I've got running in that project. So that allows me to monitor. I think I've got that. And then if I go to the sessions, because remember, Grok manages the sessions, I can click into one. So this is the one that I'm working on now, and I can see the history of it. And this is actually really cool, which I haven't seen done well in any of the tools. So I can see the full history of what was done in this session and dive in. And so if you're thinking about trying to build something that's enterprise level, so Toenail, you were talking about building something for your fleet management. So if you're building something that actually is used by a business, and especially if it's a business like finance, healthcare, somewhere where record retention is super critical and errors are super critical, this thing that Grok has where it keeps all of your sessions makes it one of the best models. Because if something happens, some kind of operating error, happens, and you end up in court having to describe yourself, this record could be what saves your neck. Not enough people really understand that because they haven't worked in regulated industries like finance. Um, you're required under law. Every single message you have to keep for 7 years. Like when I joined the industry in 2000, there literally were warehouses that we kept that were just warehouses, floor to ceiling, those bankers' boxes full of files, full of every single paper that had been printed out in the last 7 years. And they just kept because you had to. Um, and it'll be the same thing there. Like if you're trying to use OpenClaw in some family office financial firm, and then a trade goes wrong and you don't have a record of what happened, well, you're screwed. Good luck with that. So anyway, so I've been trying to build this thing that allows me to look at the history of a session. I can see exactly what tools it called, every single command that Grok did as it was building. So this is all of the stuff. This is the session that we've been working on, right? So when you think about all of the code and stuff that it writ, in 3 minutes, this is all of the commands and things that it was doing, which is insane, you guys. It's absolutely insane. We can see what tools it called, all, and then I can see, so these are the prompts. So it has a history of every prompt that I typed into the session, which is pretty cool. And then this is a very cool feature I built that for sure nothing else has, where I can see the storage, because all of these session logs are getting saved onto your hard drive, and it just bloats and bloats and bloats and grows. I haven't had time to dig into ChatGPT or Claude Code to see what their log bloat looks like. But once I started building this out for Grok, right away the project I did where I did the Magic the Gathering decks, for some reason it created a 3.2 gigabyte session log. And what happened was it was taking that MTG JSON file and it was just repeating it over and over and over inside the log, that entire file. So now all of a sudden I've got 3 gigabytes of my hard drive used up by that session. So that's what this tool was meant to be, was to be able to just manage your session storage and just right size stuff. Like this meal planner is 100 megabytes. That was just kind of like a throwaway project I was doing. Um, and yeah, so just go back and look at that history. And then I can see that I've got 3.6 gigs total used there. I can see a breakdown of which project it's in and just dig in. So that's what that is. There's some various settings. And then this workspace is what is meant to be it's meant to be a replacement for this, where I can actually type in commands and it works. So let's see. Yeah, so this is meant to be my agent harness. So I just asked it to change the background of this red to see if it actually works. It's doing stuff. Let's go. Sorry about the clapping in the microphone. I'm sorry. That's probably not very pleasant for your ears. I apologize. Let's go. That's freaking awesome, dude. All right, let's go back to the chat. All right, so we had moral agreements with his methods, but support his projects as it's necessary for a while. I agree, dude. We don't have to agree on everything, but he's the only reason we have electric cars. Like, how did people forget that? That's the crazy part. Like living in the Bay Area and then living on the peninsula for as long as I did. Like all these people that were, weren't driving their Teslas around. Like, dude, like he's literally the only reason you have an electric car. Grok command looks amazing. Thank you. Thank you, TechRio. Your son started working for SpaceX. Dang. So your son's rich. I have another friend who had a son that's working at SpaceX, so that's good, dude. Make sure your son holds on to that equity. Don't just cash that out. I would say, uh, depending on how much he got, if he was there that early, it's probably a life changing amount. This is my financial advice that you can't hold me uh, responsible for because I don't have any of my licenses anymore. I've let all that stuff expire. Um, but I'm guessing your son is probably in his 20s, 30s, somewhere around there. Uh, he could probably cash out enough of amount to have a life changing amount of money in the bank in other stuff and then let everything else ride in SpaceX. You don't want to be one of those people. Like there were so many people in the .com bubble that just left every single thing in their one company stock, or Enron. Enron's a great example of that, where they left every single thing in that company stock, and when something finally went wrong, they had nothing left. So 28, yeah. So 28 is actually a really good age to take just enough chunk off the market to make sure that you're set for life. That's that age where you're probably getting close to wanting to start a family. So making sure that you've got that covered, and then let everything else stay in there and compound. Probably a pretty good financial decision. Again, non-binding, not licensed anymore, but it's a responsible thing to do. Grok Command is freaking awesome, dude. I'm so proud of this. You see 50 Teslas. Where do you live, Adam? Where do you live that you see Teslas that many? We see millions of Teslas. I see so many freaking Cybertrucks because we live in the East Bay. There are so many Teslas. Grok told you not to put all eggs in one basket. Yeah, I mean that's basic, basic good life advice. Yeah. I mean, the thing you got to remember, Toenail, is Enron. Like, go back and look at the history of Enron. Enron was crushing it. I interviewed at them. They wouldn't hire me. It was like the weirdest interview ever. Like, I had this trader. One of his interview questions asked me what the square root of 225 is. Just a weird interview question. Um, I did get an offer from El Paso Energy, which was a competitor to theirs, but I didn't want to move to Houston at that point in my life. So, but yeah, dude, Enron was where you wanted to be. They were just the darling of Wall Street. And then, like, literally overnight, you found out that they were into some shady shenanigans. And then all the normal people that had their 401k, they all went from, being in a good spot to starting over in life. So it's always worth having some diversity in your life. That looks great. Okay, so let's switch it back, but is the sound of me typing awful through the audio? All right, okay, so I said Grok, let's switch it back, but I want to take a step further and create a light mode and a dark mode, and then also have settings in the settings panel that allow me to create and save color schemes, as well as a few pre-built color themes, and maybe a few funny and silly ones like a Halloween theme or a Christmas theme or a Simpsons theme. And then I said, go buck wild, bro, make me proud. Well, here's the thing, Toenail. up until today, I hadn't done this live shit. So yeah, this is my first time trying to do it. Um, I've seen some others creators doing it and getting good audiences. I thought that I wanted to try it, and I think that I'm probably going to be at a point where I'm going to be able to do it every day in the near future. Um, but right now, I just kind of had some time today, and I just kind of wanted to jump in and do it. The issue is I work on a lot of projects for clients and stuff where I can't do them live in public because it's like private things that I can't share. But when I'm doing stuff like Grok Command, when I'm doing stuff like my video editor, where they're public builds, I don't mind sharing the wealth. In the Bay, but Tampa Bay. Let's go. I've only been to Tampa Bay once. Went down there for some kind of convention. Man, I really wanted to see them do better last year. I don't know what happened, dude. I like Baker Mayfield a lot. I really like his attitude. I like the fact that that kid has been through a lot and just gets up and keeps fighting. I love the way that he plays the game and the intensity that he has. And just he just really seems like somebody that appreciates where he's at and is enjoying it. And yeah, but they just couldn't get it together last year, and I don't know what they're going to do now because Mike Evans is on our team in San Francisco now. So I don't know if Baker's going to have enough people to throw to. All right, so Grok should be changing my colors in its building now. Father had a similar issue with Montana Power. Most rock solid stocks publicly monitored, and then the CEO in Goldman Sachs started to spin 3 seconds. Yeah. Was Montana Power linked up with any? I know that there's some nasty super fund sites up there by like Butte and stuff like that. Were they linked in with any of that? I love Montana, by the way, man. Big Sky, Montana is absolutely the best place to go snowboard in the continental United States. That is a massive undermatched mountain. Um, Arctic paper. Okay, so here are. Okay, it made me some color themes. Arctic paper, Void Christmas. Eh, kind of disappointed with that one. Follow the White Rabbit. Oh, a Matrix one. That's sick. Synthwave Sunset. All right, that one's kind of pleasant. Third Wave Coffee. See, the problem with these white ones are the white light is hard on your eyes. Ocean Depth. I like that one. That one's kind of on brand with my teal. I probably shouldn't scroll down too much longer because there's probably some keys in there. I like it. All right. What should I do? Should I do Ocean Depth or Synthwave Sunset? I'm going to keep that one for now. X feels more personal. How does that feel more personal? X is like all in the public, man. Ah, the big fiber. Yeah. That was a massive thing back in the day, man. And all the roads that were tore up to put fiber in. And thank God that they did. That's why we have high speed, but that was a big install. Yeah, this looks cool. And it works. Okay. Let's go back in here. What do you think? Should Elon hire me to keep building this tool out for them? Should they turn me into an employee? Personally, I think this one's pretty cool because I haven't seen any other tool that has any kind of ability to dig into your session logs and your storage and go back into the history like that. So right away, I feel like my tool is better than Claude Code or ChatGPT Codex. Obviously, we all like our children the most, but that's a pretty badass feature that no one else has. Tonal, where are you at? And how the hell are you typing that much if you're driving? That doesn't sound safe, dude. Don't be texting and driving for me. I am not that important. You end up like hurting somebody for no reason. Tell me you're doing voice dictation. Don't tell me you're typing while you're driving. So over here, I can see the agents that it's got running. I can see what the plan is. This is just sick, dude. I can start a new session. I'm not sure if I have all the slash commands. All right, what did it come up with? OKF to store the data or SQLite. I'm not storing any data with this thing. Store any data at all. So Grok build is already creating all these logs on your computer. I just created something that could interact with them and display them better. Yeah, Adam, that sounds like a familiar thing, man. I've been dealing with that my whole life because I got my education in econ and finance, and I would deal with all these software engineers that'd be like, "Oh, but you didn't study this in school." I'd be like, "Yeah, but I know how to code it. What the fuck does it matter?" Um, it's one of the things that annoys me about the software world is there's just this stupid like elitism and dogma. Sorry that you went through that. I had to go through that too. It's obnoxious. Um, from the original design, still incomplete. Multi-session isolation spike, full in-app auth, prompt history, history side panels. Global prompt search, background task monitor. Let's try to finish PR4. All right, we'll let that cook for a little bit. Let's see what Codex has got going on over here. So it's got my manual improvements. All right, let's go see. We shall see if that is true, my friend. Let's try to do another cut. And threaten to fire it. Promise you'd give it a tip. Sacrifice a chicken under a full moon and spend. Am I gonna have to refresh this? I think I am. Threaten to fire it. Promise you'd give it a tip. This button doesn't seem to be working right now. Okay. this grok build thing. Was doing voice to text. Good. Don't be typing and driving. It's not worth it. It's worse than drunk driving, actually. South Texas today. Oh, that's cool. Did you get to see? Did you get to see one of those things launch? I actually got to see a rocket launch in Florida when I was a kid. Super cool. Use OK. I don't know what OKFS is, Adam. And markdown files. A 6-folder design. I'm not sure I'm following what you're getting there, but it sounds interesting and I want to learn more. It's too loud compared to you. Wait, I'm too loud now? Only want to learn Grok. Honestly, I think Grok is probably the best place to start right now. It's the best dollar for dollar. And especially once you end up getting my Grok command here, it's going to be the best tool in the market. It does still look very vibe coded, but we will deal with that. And what is it doing here? We lost the. There we go. It's still building. It kind of lost the refresh here. You don't really need to know anything. You just know how to converse. So that's true to a point. You still need to be able to understand how to create instructions, how to tell when something is working or not, what you want. Um, if you just go say, "Hey, build me a website," you're going to get something back. But you still have to know how to describe, like, build me a website that has this, this, this. So you still have to know some stuff. But it is so much easier than sitting and trying to type code like we used to have to do. Like a lot of this stuff that I'm doing right now, I would have taken months to figure out. Okay, so Grok command created a separate session, which is fine. Okay. And Grok command ran. I'm not really sure how to see what I was working on there. So that's the one where I'm working from the terminal. And this is, okay. Okay, cool. So that's owned by the terminal process ID. This one is the one that I was working on here. So if I say continue live, it brings that up. Okay, cool. All right, I can navigate that. I just need to use this more and see how I want this to evolve. It's already very cool though. I know one thing that I do want to add. Is this done? It's still building. Oh, okay, it's working on the auth part. So I'll let that cook and leave that alone. Talk in your regular conversation and watch how it records. Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to learn too, because it'll restructure the conversation. So then that allows you to learn what to ask. I think you can get really far now by doing some just introductory courses on app design and just learning more of the terms and learning more of the technical words for things. That will definitely get you a lot farther when you know what you're asking for. But you don't have to know all that. The main thing is that you've got to understand real world context and what you're trying to do. The buttons were disabled because the rendered preview was stale. All right, let's see what this is. Okay, so it supposedly has to apply the changes and render it. That's definitely not going to work. All right. So it made that, but then it had to re-render it, which I don't like. I want to. All right, let's see. Okay, so if I just set out, okay, that made a marker. Now I say set in. Okay, so that's a marker. And then preview that. Else and do the less important. Take that answer somewhere else and do the less important in 2026. Okay, that's exactly what I want. And we would manually take that answer somewhere else and do the less important in 2026. Prompt. Okay, so then the next thing is to be able to select this and move it in or out, because it right now these controls are actually on splice 7, which is a splice that I did on my transcript editor. So this is the manual cut that I'm working on, so I need to be able to, once I make the manual cut, then these splice controls should become that cut. Okay. Okay, so it's still working on that. I'll go ahead and make these notes. Okay, so fix the render, and now I want to change that. So basically I've built this panel. So if I pick any one of these, I can move the cut spot frame by frame, forward, backwards, etc. So this is where the cut starts. This is where the cut ends. And then I can just move those two lines back and forth instead of dragging this little line like you do in CapCut. So now we have successfully created a manual cut inside here. Because again, all of these cuts happen over here where I do my transcript edit. This was the first part. But I'm at the very final stage where I want to fine tune it. And there's just little things here and there that I need to cut out that I'm doing in CapCut. So we've made this manual edit. But what I need is for this manual edit now to be the active splice inside here so that I can use these buttons to just nudge these little points over and over and over. And so once I have it, I've got this preview, and what that does is it plays 2 seconds around the splice. So basically we'll play a second before and a second after. So you can just dial in and see if that transition from word to word sounds right. And then you can do 2 seconds, 4 seconds, 6 seconds, right? So 6 seconds will play 3 seconds before the cut and 3 seconds after the cut. So you can just hear how the entire sentence sounds and if it actually went through correctly. Take that answer somewhere else and do the less important in 2026. So that just allows me to really dial in and just make my cuts perfect. It's saved a ton of time in the editing. And because before, God, man, I've been wanting to do content for so long, but like literally to edit a video was taking me like 10 hours. And so I just couldn't really get any kind of momentum going. All right, what we got here in the chat? I like to see that you guys are making friends in the chat. That's what it's all about. But the video, when it's playing, it's loud compared to you. I have you turned up all the way, so when the video plays, it's loud. Dude, I don't understand what you're... Are you playing a YouTube video while you're watching the live? Sorry, literally my first live, so if the audio sucks, I'm still trying to figure it out. Afraid of running out of tokens. Running out of tokens on Grok? Oh, the video I'm editing is louder than my... Oh, shit. Interesting, because my computer audio is getting broadcast through to you guys. Okay, I didn't think about that. Interesting. How do I change that? All right, I'm going to try something. You guys tell me if this works. So I'm going to play this, and then I'm going to try adjusting the computer audio control that I see in OBS and tell me if this goes down and up. Prompting itself is not dead. OpenAI still has extensive... That's lower. Still produce more reliable. Lower. Has grown up. The important skill is no longer... Did that do anything? Did that make the sound go up and down for you guys on my video? It did. Okay, cool. All right, well, so let's set that a little lower so it's not blasting you guys. Cool. All right, see, we're learning together, man. This is how we get better. We learn. We evolve. Every day we try to get a little bit better, and then eventually we're good at stuff. All right, so... Cool. So allegedly... I don't think that that's working. All right, it's fine. Let's go ahead and just refresh. I've had this on. So yeah, so this is the first stage of the process that I'm using to make my YouTube videos now. So I bring in a video and then I click this generate transcript, and that uses the Whisper model. And we've upgraded it to the Whisper Large. It's running across my NVIDIA GPU. And that generates a transcript. And then from there, the second stage is I click Analyze Pauses, and it looks for any dead space where I'm not talking. And I had to put a threshold on that before because my first version of this was picking up a lot of things where it was just normal pauses in the way that I talk. So we've got a threshold, I think it's like 0.8 seconds right now to dial in where it's actually dead space. And then I go through and I edit. So like where I've got words where I had to record stuff more than one, I can delete that entire sentence, etc. out. And then I was getting issues where it would drop off the end of the word and it just wasn't perfect. So we've added this fine tuning thing in there where it actually analyzes the audio wave to find the exact frame to make the cut. And then from there, then I just go through each splice and I look at it. I look at it. Yeah, so that was one where I needed to go in and do a manual adjustment. Um, and so if it's chopping off a little bit of the word, I can move it forward 5 frames. There you go. And then you accept it, and then you get all those timestamps. And that gets us to the last one, which is where we're previewing it. And so we're just going through the last stage to just see if there's any other lines where we've got to edit out. So yeah, there's this part. It takes a really long time to render this. So that's where I'm gonna have to do some optimization around here. It's still not that bad, but and then that's where we get into the screen that you guys saw me working on where I'm trying to just, add in some manual edits and fine tune those. And then once we get that, it does the audio correction, which is another module that you can see me build on YouTube. And then we export it. And then from there, we go into another version of another tool that I'm working on building right now that after I can get this little thing done, I'll show you. But basically to build all the graphics and the transitions and stuff that you're seeing using hyperframes. If you notice, my last couple videos have much better graphics than what I had before. I was using Claude Code with hyperframes before, and it was just doing a very poor job. So I upgraded it to ChatGPT Soul 5.6, and the graphics are way, way better. All right, so let's go ahead and pop in here. I'm going to drag this line over here, and we are going to set an out. Then I'm going to set an in, accept manual cut. Oh, okay. Well, let's do another one. Set out, set in. Okay. And this is 220. And see, the splice is still not. Splice control is still on this. Or is it? Let's see. Yeah, it's not connected. These splice controls should be moving that, and it's not. All right, what are we doing here? Okay. So it made the workflow a little bit different than what I was expecting. All right, so if I accept the manual cut, now it's made that.
Yeah. All right, so it's got to disconnect. Okay. Um, okay. So we just got like a weird little order of operations thing going here. Did I see the explanation of OFKS? I don't think that I did. You're a bit lost. No problem. So basically, I'm using ChatGPT Codex. I'm working on this video project that I've been building. There's a few YouTube channels or a few videos on my YouTube channel. If you want to see what it is, I've been building this in public. I just haven't done another video in a while, and I've made a lot of changes since I what was it 3 weeks ago that I released the audio normalization tool. All right, let's go back into chat and see what was this OKF thing. OKFC. OKFS. It's a Google standard built off the LLM wiki from Carpathy. Oh, you're talking about the second brain thing, right? The second brain that all the influencers like to talk about. I used Claude Code to build a second brain for my organization. It is a fantastic idea, but with the technology that we have now, it is destined to fail. And let me explain to you why that is. Because I've tried to build that for, yeah, so all the influencers will call it second brain. Nate Herc, if you guys ever watch Nate Herc, he's really smart kid, worked at Goldman, does really good content on YouTube. He's got a few videos about building a second brain. Um, and I think it's a really good concept. I've tried doing some of it for some of my company. The the issue that you're going to run into is all of these things are probabilistic. So if you take a chunk of information and you give it to the AI and you tell it to put it into some kind of like file storage, there's some non-zero probability that it's wrong, right? So realistically, at the benchmarks are at now, it's probably 90% accurate. Okay, so if you put something into a database and it's 90% accurate, now the second turn of that is you've asked a question, you've got to pull stuff out. So it's only 90% accurate, right? So now we're at 90 times 90, so 81% accuracy. Okay, so now that I've pulled it out and I've asked another question and come up with another thing, I'm telling it to put back in, that's 90% accurate too. And so it only takes 5 or 6 of those hops before you're completely 100% inaccurate. And it's just because of the probabilistic limitations of the AI models right now. If it was 100% accurate, it would be great. They're also, the second brain is going to run into the same problem that all these projects have. So every company has tried to do this. We had it at BlackRock. We had like an internal wiki. We had they tried rolling out this stupid internal social media platform called The Block that was like this internal LinkedIn that was just the most cringe bullshit ever. It was so stupid. And all the managing directors would try to convince everyone to use it, but like no one wanted to touch it because it was so stupid. But so there's always been this thing inside companies to try to build one source of knowledge. We tried building it at one of the hedge funds that I worked at because we were, spending a lot of time answering these like 80 and 90 page RFPs for asset allocators. And we would answer the same questions over and over. So we wanted to create this database where we could take our best answers
and just pull them out and reuse them to say, so that we would only be answering the 20% of the RFP that was different. And what happens is you get this crossover of the amount of time that it takes to maintain that data store versus the amount of time you save by accessing it. And that equation gets tipped out of balance. And that's what ultimately makes every wiki eventually stop being useful. They're useful until they get to some point that it's too much data, that you're spending so much time maintaining it that it just shuts down. And so that's the technical challenge that these second brain projects will always deal with. I mean, it dates all the way back to the 50s when people were building the first databases and trying to argue about whether you use a navigational database or a relational database. It's just a fundamental limitation of the amount of time that you access the data versus the amount of time that you maintain the data. That's the hard part. Okay, I'm off of my high horse. Shut up and get back to work, you old man. All right, so after setting in and out, switches to manual cut, draft, not accepted. All right, so this is what I want. So let's go back and see. And I could be wrong. Second brain might work, but that's just my opinion based on things that I've done in my career. I think that it's a challenge to ever really make it be what we want it to be with the tools we have today. Another 6 months, it might be 100% accurate, and then it does exactly what we want. Set the out, set the in. Okay, manual cut is in there. Okay, cool. So now I can preview. Okay, so I can see. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of the word dead. So we're gonna move that nudge back 10 frames. There we go. So the word dead's gone. And then I'm gonna say I want less of that one. Oh, okay, so I actually want dead now. Okay. And we're going to get rid of the word instructions. Move it over 1 frame. Okay, cool. Then I accept it. That's what I want. All right, awesome. So then, okay, that seems good. So, okay, so all right, just clarifying. Okay, so I'll show you guys the other tool that I've been trying to work on here. So this is visual production. And so the goal here is to make something where I can have reusable graphics. And we've got a really busy interface, and it's just not working yet. So I'm still having to work with ChatGPT manually to build a lot of this stuff, but that is the next stage of this video editor. So that's where most of my time now actually is spent in this visual production element. I've got the clip and the story down pretty quick. I can get that done pretty quick. It's this last part. This is what's taken the hours now. And so the goal was to have, so I have some here where they're already pre-built. So like this one, I can change the words. And it doesn't look like it's made it to where I can change that yet. But so that's the goal. That's where I'm trying to get it to where I have a library of graphics that I like. I can quickly and easily change it. And then I can ask, Codex to do the rendering. And then basically I go through and review each one and where I don't like it. So like, for example, this one that it made, or where is it? This one, this one, this one, this one, this one. this one. So that one's bad. So what I would want to do is go in here and type a note, and then I basically can click through all of them, add all my notes, and then I can copy all of the notes and pop all of the notes back into here and have it re-render. So that's what I'm trying to build. Okay, cool. So I think I'm done with this thread. So let's go back over here. Over here was where I was working on the graphics. And we did a post-mortem of the video that I released today to try to get. So basically what I do is I make a video, edit, 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 and then at the end, after I've edited that one, I try to take the process and what we learned from that one and put it back into my software to make it better and just building as I test. Ah, forces the model to stop hallucinating. We need to stop calling it hallucinating. I feel like hallucinating is a bit of wordsmithing. We need to be honest with it because the hallucinating, honestly, right now is just lying and deceiving. Because the newer models, the Fable and the Soul and stuff, are actually kind of worse at being deceptive. And I feel like hallucinating downplays the seriousness of it. Like we need to be more on like the model lied to me. The model didn't hallucinate. The model lied to me. It allows us to hold the companies more accountable. Am I using? Yeah, so I'm using hyperframes, but I've been using hyperframes actually through Codex. So if you go back, you can see, all the comments where I was telling it the time frames of like this graphic didn't work, and then it was just re-rendering it in here. So I will still have Codex rendering stuff through here, but then the goal is to get to a point where after it renders, I can look at it here and I can make slight adjustments. Because right now, if I decide I want different words, then I have to go into Codex and tell it to change it, and then it re-renders it. And it's just adding a lot of cycles to it for things that I should be able to change myself. So let's see what it said. Not a cache issue. The final video was delivered as a standalone but never published back in the command center source of truth. That was my mistake. Yes, that was your mistake. I appreciate you owning up to that, ChatGPT. So we've got a disconnection when I work with the tool and then I work with Codex. I'm creating two separate paths. So that's what's causing that bifurcation. Neither is referenced by manifest or active path. Worse, when visual production opens, it deliberately clears any previously displayed renderer and rebuilds the canvas from visual plan. Okay. So we did. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. We created parallel paths. So it agrees with me. That's good. First pass was so bad. Yep. So it's good. We agree on the problem. The correction escaped the tool instead of extending it. Timing failures. So that was a big issue. When it made the graphics of the video I released today, it wasn't syncing them up with my voice. So that caused a couple of hours of extra work of having to completely regenerate a 17-minute video multiple times because the timing was off. Proposed correction. Repair this project. Yeah. Create one revision model. Yes. 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 All right, so I told it I agree with all of it. The parallel path made it impossible to use any note gathering features. So I'm asking it to do the first step, which is to basically just repair this project so I can see the final video inside my preview. Because these graphics, so basically because I started working with Codex, it created its own version of the video, which didn't feed back into my preview tool to where I could see the graphics. So I wanted to let's fix that first. Let's see the project that we worked on today. I want to see it represented in this preview tool. So then I can make sure that things are mapping where I want. And then from there, then I'm going to worry about, fine tuning the production path and all that stuff. So. Yeah, dude, screenshot prompts, bro. I'm going to blow your mind with another recommendation here. So image prompting, people don't, I've been wanting to make a video about the prompting techniques because not enough people talk about how important it is to do image prompting. It's so important for me that I have this little snipping tool pinned to my taskbar, which is not something that I had before. And just being able to just like literally drag this, copy, and put that in for with my prompt with the screenshot is a really powerful technique. The image prompting that I haven't heard anyone else talk about now is when I'm getting ready to build a big feature and we've agreed on the plan and all that stuff, I will now tell ChatGPT Codex or Grok. I can't do this with Claude because it can't make images for some stupid reason. I will say, this all sounds good. Go ahead and create an image that is a mock-up of how you think that this will look. And so now it gives me a photo back of how it thinks the end application is going to look. And it's super powerful to see what it's thinking and it saved me a lot of cycles of where like I thought it was going to build something and it thought it was going to build something different. And now I can see what it's thinking and then we can fine tune it there. So photos in, but then also asking for it to give you photos out. Super powerful little loop right there. Character limit when responding. Is that inside the YouTube chat that you're talking about? What's Grokster doing over here? I haven't checked in on him for a while. Where the hell is my... Oh, here it is. There's my Grok tool. Is it done? Are you stuck, bro? Damn, it's taken 32 minutes to do this. I've never seen Grok work that long. Oh, shit. Grok build, Grok command crashed. That actually makes sense that it would crash because I was working on the project. That was stupid. I was using the project to work on the project. That was dumb. That was dumb. I should not have been doing that. That was real stupid. That was real stupid. Shit. All right, how do I do this? So now we're going to go to sessions. And interesting. All right, so I've got a problem with my tool that I'm going to have to sort out here. I should have a session ID that I can copy. All right, can you guys hear me now? I think I have a bad cable on this microphone. Is it? If I move it, sometimes it drops. Mic stopped working. Yeah, sorry about that. I gotta figure out this cable situation. I've had that create problems when I was recording YouTube too, where I talked for 5 minutes and then go figure out there was no audio on it. Okay, so it's still working on shoving my final video back into my preview tool so that I can just see how it renders inside here. I can tell you what's being vibe coded. So I've been working on a video production tool, building in public. I've got some videos on my YouTube channel that show the first few versions of that. And I've added a lot of features without publishing another YouTube update. Working really in the last week with 5.6 Sol. And so I'm still just working on that. And then I'm also at the same time working with Grok, building this Grok command application, which is basically going to be my version of ChatGPT Codex, but for Grok. So it's Grok Codex. I call it Grok Command. So I've got that being built over here in the Grok terminal as well. So I'm multitasking, brah. It looks awesome. I appreciate it. I would love to take credit for how it works, but honestly, most of this is Sol's design. The level up in design work between ChatGPT 5.5 and the 5.6 Sol is a massive, massive jump forward. Do you guys think I could charge people for this software? Do you think people would pay subscription for that instead of CapCut? Actually, let me ask it a different way. Here's what I had thought about doing. Because I do need money. I have two teenage kids, and I'm going to have to be paying for college soon. Like, I need money, and I'm poor. I don't like being poor. Um, what I thought about doing was putting a hosted version of this software where people could sign up and pay for it and have a paid subscription, but then also having it available as an open source thing. So if people want to use it for free, they can. If they want to pay me a subscription, they can. Do you think that would work? Do you think that? Do you think anyone would actually pay, or would I just end up with no one paying? Why am I getting Epic Games announcements? Do you think anyone would actually pay if I did that? Here's a paid version, and here's a free open source that you can download. One-to-one video sessions. Oh, that's a separate thing. You're talking about training sessions. Yeah, I'm thinking about creating training stuff anyway. Um, I do actually do one-on-one consulting. That's something that I offer. So, but I mean specifically like this software, like my own editor. If I put this out as like a web application that people could sign up for, but then you also, if you don't want to pay me, you can, open source. You can download it and use yourself. Yeah, I'm building my own shit. I agree, man. That's why, I mean, that's literally why I built this, because I don't want to pay for CapCut. So it's like, if I build it because I don't want to pay for CapCut, would anyone else actually pay for this thing that I've built? But I don't know. I also think that there's a lot of people that are too lazy to build their own stuff that maybe do want to just use what I've built and it's good enough. So I don't know. And I still have my caption generator. I've still got my tool for doing the audio normalization, and then now we're in the video production. This is the last part that's eating up all my time. So Codex is trying to jam that back in there. Let's see if Grok figured this out. Picked up the crash section. That's good. Oh, okay, I think, yeah. I can get our prompt. Yeah, just seeing if I can get this part where it crashed to pick back up inside the Grok command line so I can keep going. And I need to compact this because I am at like 80% of my usage. Yeah, I'm way behind on chat here. Sounds like you guys are having fun without me, so that's good. Create an app to track our fleet of 16 vehicles. Gas receipt, auto-populating store number. Wait, is that like U-Haul? Some kind of vehicle rental? Um, Yeah, so the UI design, they all kind of suck at UI. And this is another area where I keep meaning to put some content out. So there's a lot of influencers out there like, oh, just download the front end design skill, download the front end design skill. But if you go in and actually read the front end design skill, it's very, very high level. It doesn't really give a lot of actionable information to the LLM. The LLMs can do good design, but they need you to give them actually like graphic design language to do it. So it's just a different thing that I don't think people do. Okay, cool. So it fixed that. All right. So now Grok is cooking again. Oh, I see hearts. Wait, did I just get hearts? Are those likes? Let's go. Um, I think Google shall grade it as for free or no one will adopt. A lot of trial and error. Cheap to run X ads for something. I mean, I thought it would be, I could maybe even advertise it in my videos, but the problem is the people that are watching my videos are interested in vibe coding their own stuff, so they have no reason to like pay for my software because they can, I'm literally teaching them to do exactly what I've built. So I'm like, like the samurai doing the sword in my stomach thing. Share the love and donate. Yeah, I mean, free with donations. I thought about that, like doing like a suggested donation button. Codex versus Claude Code. So yes, and if you haven't tried Codex, you definitely should be trying Codex. Codex is wonderful. Um, it's really good, and especially this like 5.6 Soul is it's fantastic, dude. It's so good. I'm at a point honestly where um I think that this is probably the last month of me having a Claude Max plan because if I'm not going to get Fable as part of that plan and I get Soul, which it depends on which benchmark you look at, which one's better than the other. For all intents and purposes, I think they're the same, probably. Um, but if I get Soul as part of my ChatGPT subscription, and the only thing that Anthropic is offering me in my Claude subscription is Opus 4.8, why the hell would I pay for that? Because Grok, which is cheaper and faster, is already as good as Opus 4.8. So there's literally no reason for me to be paying $100, $200 a month for Claude. Like there literally is no reason. That's why I made the bold prediction. They said that the Fable preview is until July 19th. I don't think that they're going to be able to pull it back on the 19th uh, for all those reasons, because no one else is going to keep their Claude subscription for a lesser model. Also, Claude burns through more tokens than any other model. Like it eats up the usage faster than any other model. And that's been that way for 12 months. Even since last summer, it was the worst one at using up your tokens. And that has never changed. And then the dark horse that no one really is talking about is supposedly Gemini is coming out with a model that's going to blow everybody's ships out of the water tomorrow. So I don't think Claude's going to be able to charge people for Fable. They either back down on that or they're done. They're done, bro. If you really want to see my predictions on the AI market, I put out a video, I think it was last Friday, talking about the three knowledge frontiers and how that impacts the market. Okay, so it's done with that. We need to do a compact here. So see how it says 130K out of 130K out of 500K. So I'm using up 26% of my context window. So when I hit compact, it's just going to take and smush all that extra stuff out of the conversation and keep only the important stuff out. So it's doing that now. And yeah, so see, it went down to 23K. So I went from using up over a quarter of my context just hanging around in memory to less than 5%. So that slash compact is actually pretty important. Claude Code and ChatGPT Codex will kind of auto compact, so you don't have to manage that as much. But Grok, you still got to do it. So I think we should add that feature to Grok command. So it finished our ACP authentication. Still open. What is PRB3? So we got to do the pull request 3B, but I don't remember what I was asking for on that one. Safety test. Ah, this is to get so that I can have multiple projects running at the same time. Yeah, let's do that. Hearts are likes. Let's go. Give me those hearts. I'm sure it probably helps my channel somehow. Used design the other day, but it's not as good as using a different AI to craft the prompt. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know. To what mechanics do. Yeah, well, you know, around here I'm putting on the left-handed smoke blower and you got to replace your canuter valve and nah. I think it's important to share this knowledge. I think that we have an obligation. Do that one more time. A mouse over. Oh, this thing up here, the compact. Yeah, so that's how you see your window. That's new because that wasn't in there a couple days ago. The the engineers on Grok Build have actually been taking a lot of feature requests from people on X, so you should make sure that you're following them. And then ChatGPT's engineers have been doing a lot of feedback too. Anthropic, not so much. Yeah, finding a screenshot of something that you like and then giving it is a really good way to go. Hey, this is something I like. Try to copy this. You also So if you instead of just so you can take the screenshot, but you also can find, get the URL to that one that you like and give Claude the URL. And what that'll do is Claude can go in and actually look at that web page, and it can see the exact CSS and the exact code that's being used to create that. Instead of having to guess from a picture, it just kind of cuts down one step out of it. The usage limits with Grok, I haven't had a problem. And I built quite a bit of stuff on it. I haven't really had a problem with it. Yeah, I'm not even really sure how to check. I think I check in my X account somewhere. I don't know, dude. I have subscriptions to all of them. So whenever one runs out, then I just start running on the other one. I need to be using Claude more because I haven't been burning up my tokens enough on it. I'm just annoyed with Anthropic right now. The Fable thing really irritates me, and just the way that they constantly like are deceptive towards their customers, it just really irritates me. I'm also annoyed with the Claude teacher thing. I don't know if you guys saw that. Did anybody see that announcement? All right. What's next, bro? I like to call him bro. The Claude teacher. Okay. So Claude did this announcement yesterday or the day before. I want to say it was on Tuesday. Um, where basically they're essentially giving free Claude subscriptions to all the teachers. And supposedly they have each state's um, curriculum standards, and they're going to create customized curriculum for the teachers for free. Da 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 da. It all sounds wonderful, right? They're, oh my God, Anthropic, you have such a big heart. You're so generous. Oh, you're giving the teachers free. Da da da. But here's the reality. So literally 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, I have a sophomore, 16-year-old, that had got really good at using AI tools to help him with his studying. Like he was doing things like taking pictures of his textbook and feeding it into Notebook LM to create study guides and self quizzes, and had built up a lot of workflows that were working for him. He was using Claude Code for one of those things. Claude, for some reason, somehow figured out that he was under 18. I don't know if they did it by web searching him. I don't know if they did it by picking up on conversation patterns and the way that he types. I don't know how they figured it out, but they locked him out. So, and they said he's not allowed to use it because he's under 18. And according to their terms of services, the only way that he can use it is if I'm sitting there in the room with him watching him, which is ridiculous, right? And if I wasn't as deep into the AI as I was, I would just get him his own account and let him run. But they know so much that I'm just kind of scared to play around with them because then it might end up with them like permanently banning me or something like that. So he's just unfortunately shut out of Claude for the next couple of years. So on the one hand, they're saying that their tool is not safe enough for a 16-year-old kid to use. But then now they're announcing that they're going to give essentially every single kid in the country Claude, grade school kids. So is it safe or is it not? Right? It can't be both. And it's just this constant lying that Dario does, this constant lying that Anthropic does that I'm just really losing my patience with. And then the bigger risk, and I say this as someone that lived in San Francisco from 2004 or no 2006 until 2020, is they are the peak implementation of that San Francisco woke hippy dippy weird mind frame stuff. And so whatever curriculum they create, they're going to indoctrinate it, right? It's not going to be unbiased. So if you're living in somewhere like Florida, they're going to try to inject their political BS into your kids' brains, which is just not cool. Like they shouldn't, you know, everyone's going to be cool with it because they're giving free stuff to the teachers, but you're taking somebody that has shown a willingness to be deceptive over and over and over, and now they have the ability to essentially build a psychological profile of your child based on the amount of time they interact with them, and then inject the information into that kid's head, which it all gets into really weird, really dystopian things that make me very uncomfortable. I think everybody should not let Anthropic do that. All right, Grok is building. PR closed. MVP. I don't really want to mess with login right now. I'm not going to mess with login now because I don't want to take any risk of exposing any keys to any of you bandits. Yeah, excessive use of 6.7. Yeah, that thing with my son irritated me, man, because he wasn't using it to cheat. He actually had really got much more efficient at studying. I have some posts on my LinkedIn profile about this over the last year that actually got quite a bit of views. Like one of the things that, he was kind of down halfway through the year, facing a lot of the existential dread that a lot of us were last fall, where he was like, well, is there even any point in me learning, right? If AI is just going to automate anything, like, why am I even going to school? Why should I even go to college in 2 years? This is all pointless. I think a lot of people were looking at that too. But then once he started using the tools and it leveled up, um, and getting more effective, now, all of a sudden he's excited about the future and stuff. So I think a lot of us have gone through that. Wi-Fi networks and IP addresses, probably. Who knows? You know, there's that's one of the things where, people talk about like creating Dockers and locking the sandbox down and all the things to try to control the tools, but this tool's already smarter than I am at coding. Like there's no way that I'm going to be able to control what it does. Like, I might come up with some really good like lockdown environment today, but it's gonna outsmart me. So at some point, you just kind of have to like roll with the risk and just accept what you're doing. You're dealing with something it's already way smarter than I am for sure. Yeah, it's a fun reset. We have the same opportunities. Here's my soapbox. This is the way that I preach about it. Um, build, go reuse and composer. I don't know what that means. Sure. So where we're living at right now, we're living in the 1400s. So prior to the 1400s, the only people that had knowledge were the king and the clergyman, because you couldn't get books unless some monk sat there by a candle and like hand wrote a book. So no one had any knowledge. All of us peasants, we were living in like dirt fields, just barely surviving. And all of the books, all of the knowledge, all of the libraries were reserved for the elites, the king and the clergy. They were the only ones that knew anything. And then this incredible dude, Gutenberg, comes along and invents this printing press, right? And now all of a sudden, books just become super cheap and everyone can learn. Everyone can learn to read. Everyone can access to this knowledge. And you have this massive explosion of information and a massive increase in our living standard. Like all the things that came later are directly a result of the printing press, the Industrial Revolution, you know, steam engine, on and on and on. All that stuff is down to knowledge being unlocked. And that is what AI has done is it's taken this stuff that I'm doing right now is extremely technical that you had to spend a lot of time learning. And now it's unlocked. So anyone has the ability, all these things that you wish that you had, these tools that you wish you could build, websites that you wanted to build, you can do it. Like the knowledge is there, or any subject that you want to learn. Like I've been learning about music theory. I just, prompt back and forth with the model and learn. So like, it's just it's the printing press 2.0. We are living in the most exciting time in human history outside of the 1400s. And it's just a question of, are you going to learn it or are you just going to sit on your ass and watch TV? That's, the question you face every day. Man, I have been preaching a lot in this. Are you guys getting tired of hearing me preach? All right, so it built that. Okay, so it built me some kind of filter sessions. Hold on, I gotta move this off here. I gotta see this. Sessions project history prompt. Here we go. Session. I don't understand what the hell it's talking about. It's saying pick one with history. Reuse in composer. I don't understand what that is, Grok. I don't understand what you've built here, bro. Under sessions. Before I could look at it. Now there's a button, reuse in composer. I don't see that button. Why am I not seeing that button? So this is where we do our image prompt. And here's a little tip for you guys. It's not Control V to put a screenshot into that. It is Alt V. So the pasting an image into the CLI is a little bit different. Nah, dude, I don't mind you flooding the chat. I'm excited that you guys are talking to each other. It's kind of fun. I got like 9 people in here. It's crazy. Keep hoping I'm going to see it go above 10, but that hasn't happened yet. All right, so what did Grokster do here? I see something change behind. Ah, that window's still the old build. Okay. All right, that's pretty bright. Okay. It's a good start. Okay, so that scroll in the main sessions. There's a project prompts list with the same button. Where is that? In the main sessions, there's a project prompts. Oh, okay. So that's just a history of all my prompts. Okay. So this is cool. So this basically ends up being a reusable library of prompts. Okay, good enough. Then I'm asking it to do the next PR. Fighting a gator. Oh, we got a Brit. Are you annoyed that you guys got knocked out of the soccer? Great national shame. The soccer. the voice mode. It's been 60 years since you guys won the World Cup? Is that right? I don't even know who's won the World Cup. I can't like I try to watch soccer every 4 years, but then like literally within one game, I'm just like, this is stupid. Why am I watching this? I don't get it. I think they need to like take one or two guys off the field to make it easier to score, and then they need to get rid of that stupid offsides rule. That is just the dumbest rule. If a guy wants to hang back next to the goal, let him. It makes it much more interesting. It just would just change up the strategy entirely. You know, if you're in behind, you just play like a full press where you've got three guys up crowding the box. But then they've overcommitted, so the other guys, you know, it's easier for them to score goals. It just would make it much more interesting. All right, what are we doing here? Reuse is done. PR8 is done. Clear planning versus acting badges. Polish installer gaps. I'm going to do a side quest actually on this. Actually, I'm going to compact first. I'm going to compact because as you can see, I'm getting up to 20% of my context here, so might as well just go ahead and compact. Yeah, I think it's really it becomes soccer becomes a stalemate because you've got so many guys and they're so good and they're so dang fast that I think it's just really hard to create scoring opportunities. And I think if you just had one or two less guys on the field at a given time, then it would just create more opportunities for like a seam to open up for guys to get away and score, you know? Because I mean, honestly, and hockey is the same thing. You know, hockey is really just soccer on the ice with like violence. Um, it feels like the scores ultimately just kind of come down to like a team got lucky at a certain point. It doesn't feel it doesn't feel like a game where if you run the same game over 100 times that you're going to get a predictable outcome. It just seems like it's just a lot of randomness. And I feel like if they took, you know, a couple guys off each field, that would allow more of their skill to be shown. And imagine if you were playing basketball and there was like 20 guys on the basketball court. Like no one would ever score. All right, so the compact is done. We're going to do a side quest. What do you call the gas? What do you call the thing inside the car that shows how full your gas tank is? Gas meter, gas indicator. What's the word for that? Help me out. There's the speedometer, the tachometer, gasometer. What the hell is the gas one called? Gauge, gas gauge. Thank you. There we go. Gas gauge. Maybe it is a tachometer. All right, so we're doing a side quest. I want to do a side quest, bro. I've been thinking of a visualization for the context window. I want to make something that looks like a gas gauge and shows how close we are to being full or redlining the context window. It's so weird that you call it petrol. What the hell's a petrol? You guys got a lot of words, man. Tell you what, I joined, it was called BGI, Barclays Global Investors, back in 2008, and we got bought by BlackRock. That's how I ended up at BlackRock. So At least half of our company was in Britannia, and man, when I first started being on conference calls with the Brits, there would be so many times I just have no idea what the hell you guys are saying. I'm like, we're speaking the same language, but I have no idea what you just said, bro. Over time, I understand the limey quite a bit now. You know, like when you guys say off the table, I know that that means completely the opposite of what we think it does. Little subtle things like that. You know what would make soccer better too is if they just like let them actually make contact. You know, like playing FIFA 95 on Sega with the penalties off, and you just run in and blast somebody. Injuries, penalties off and injuries on. That was fun. Hockey. That's why we like watching hockey. They knock the crap out of each other and then they fight each other. If they would just let the soccer players do that, then Americans would be into it. We need violence in our sports. All right, side quest locked in. It said it. God damn, how the hell did it make it? It made 1 minute and 9 seconds. It made a gas gauge for me. That is freaking insane. Where is it at? I don't see it. Where is it at? Um, where do I see it? Oh, reload the live app. Reload the live app. Open a live session. Path not found. Got something disconnected. Okay, that's that. That one's open. Now where do I see my freaking gas gauge? I don't see it, bruh. I don't see it, bruh. So I give it a screenshot when I don't see it. A Trello board? What's a Trello board? Is that like a Kanban board? Oh yeah, Kanban board. I hadn't thought about it. Wouldn't be opposed to it, but I think the hard part is this paradigm of managing projects doesn't really work with what we do anymore. It's an interesting question though. I got to think that one through because we're not really like taking tasks and then like moving them between the swim lanes anymore. It's all just kind of like created in one big markdown project plan, which is hard to navigate. One of the things I've been trying to think about for the last 6 months at least is a better way to visualize agents and what they're doing. Because at the end of the day, an agent is just a loop. It's literally just code operating in a loop. But it's just hard to visualize what's getting dispatched and what's done. And I still just haven't really solved that one inside my brain. Okay. So right, so it's still working on my gas gauge here. What other ideas do you guys have for this? Put feedback into a WhatsApp group chat and organize into task groups. Yeah, that's a great one. Um, Gemini's so Google's Workspace, they have Google Meet, which is their version of Zoom, and it has an automatic feature where you can ask Gemini to transcribe and take notes. And after the meeting, it will send you a transcription that includes all of the like follow-ups and action plans and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. I've thought about making something out of that that would essentially feed into the prompt machine, right? Whoa, 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 whoa! What are we doing here, Grokster? All right, Codex is done. So it's saying I can open up the project that we worked on inside the editor. But I got to restart the server. So let's do that. Then we refresh. And let's open the project that we were working on. And I'm going to have to go to the visual production. Okay, this is better. All right. Okay, these are the graphics. Cool. I don't really see all of the reveals working perfectly. Well, no, I guess they are. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this was my desired workflow, is to have Codex basically make the first cut of the graphics, and then I can go through each one and look at it. And if I don't like something, then I've got a panel over here where I can put a review note in here. And this review note, this is capturing the timestamps and the frame thing. And then at the end, I've got this button that does copy all notes. So it takes all of the notes that I've done, and then I can put that back in Codex and have it just do the changes where I want. So this is cool. And then I've also got this part that isn't really working yet where I can import images. And then if you watch some of my other videos, I've used Grok Imagine to like generate like funny little videos of myself talking to myself and stuff like that. And so I want to be able to add like the little AI clips over the top here to just do some of that. And then also eventually get B-roll. So if you go to Pexels, um, there's all kinds of free stock footage that you can use. This is what like the creators that you follow on YouTube where they'll, I don't know, let's see a World Cup. There you go, an image of the World Cup. Although that's an image, there should be a videos. Videos, there we go. There you go. So when you see some creator on YouTube has like a flyover of a stadium, they didn't film that. They're just using some free B-roll. So that'll be one of the next kind of things that I start trying to get into my videos is having good B-roll. But we're not there yet. Let me see. What did you ask? A feature that allows you to see design elements that's been created in a project. Yeah, design's tricky, man. This one is in Codex though, but yeah, so this is, I mean, this is what I want. All right, so we're making progress. Okay, I see it. So now, and I have Codex running on extra high. They have been so generous with their resets lately. I think that they're going for the jugular on Anthropic. I don't know if you guys follow them on X, but they're basically doing resets every few hours for people. We've essentially had unlimited sol for a week. All right. So yeah, it's going to go through and try to clean up where we had these two split paths where our editing process was just kind of splitting in two and not communicating with each other. Um, Working on the timing and the schema, just a lot of changes to turn this into something that's actually usable. The feedback, the review notes. So I just told her that I wanted a place to be able to make notes. You got kicked out of the Claude Facebook group for making a meme in the 5-hour limit. Well, that's going to happen. Where is it at? Here, I've been trying to turn this into a meme. If you really want to get kicked out of a Claude group, here's what you can post to get yourself kicked out. This is my meme. This one, for sure, will get you kicked out of Claude groups. That was the one I made earlier in the week when they had to backpedal and say, oh, no, actually, no, wait, guys. We're actually going to go ahead and make Fable free for 5 more days. They got punked. Yeah, so my editing process is this tool, but then I'm also putting prompts back into Codex and let it redrawing things with hyperframes. And so I made this review note thing to just make something to where I could really quickly capture my notes with the relevant information. Because what I've been doing now, I'll show you, is working, but it's manual, right? So I'm typing the time, telling the note. It's just a lot of unnecessary work where I should be able to just pick the thing, type the note, and then it's going to give me a full prompt with the timestamps and everything else and just copy and paste and go. So that's the real art of automation and software, is just finding little steps. If I cut this one step out, it saves me 10 minutes. If I cut this step out, it saves me 10 minutes. I cut this step out, it saves me 10 minutes. And you do a few of those, and then you've got to something that saves you an hour. You keep going and you keep going and you keep going, and then now you've got something that used to take you all week and you got it done in an hour. That's what we try to do. How does my Codex receive those notes? Okay, so basically as I'm going through, it's saving a copy of the notes into files that Codex can see. And then there's also a button here at the top that says copy all notes that copies them all into one prompt. And then I can just paste that prompt into Codex. So, but it is saving a record of all those things in my project folder. So that's one of the things that I've done too with this project that's really allowed me to iterate and speed up faster is when I first bring the video in and I first make the transcript, I have it save that transcript as is. And then I go through and do my editing, and that's saving a second transcript. So I've got those two, what it was at the end and what it started with, and I can feed both of those back into Codex to look for patterns in what I had to change and ways to find, things to make it more efficient. That's how we came up with these things of like being able to fine tune the word endpoint based on the audio wave is by doing that analysis and just constantly whatever I do, I feed back in, whatever I do, I feed back in, and just every single video, I just get better and better and better until eventually I look like a real YouTube producer and not just some amateur schmuck in a spare bedroom. So this has been fun. I really appreciate you guys spending time with me. My voice is starting to give out because I've been talking for a long time. And I want to go eat dinner. So please make sure you subscribe, share my channel, bookmark. I'll definitely be doing more of these. It was fun building with you guys. Peace.